It was the fall of 1973. I was in high school. It was still a couple of weeks before school began, but we were deep into preseason football practice, and our coach called for a scrimmage under the lights on Friday night. Cool. Now, our coach knew that back then, not every kid was going to have transportation to make it to the scrimmage. And because a number of us lived kind of far away from the school, he said this: I want you to be there, but if you just can't make it because you don't have transportation, let me know. I thought, okay, cool, I'll let you know, but I can't wait for the scrimmage. But then my girlfriend called me up. She said, Dave, my parents are going to be gone on Friday night. So why don't you come over and we can read the Bible and pray together? I'm like, yes! This is awesome! And then immediately I felt a conflict. Oh man, what am I going to do? I want to be with my girlfriend on Friday, and we got this scrimmage, and I'm wrestling with it, and I'm going, wait a minute. Coach said if you couldn't make it, I got a plan. And I went to my coach and I said, Coach, man, I'm so sorry, I cannot make it. I don't have a way in. He's like, oh, okay, I understand. And then I went home to my parents. I said, Mom, Dad, I got a scrimmage Friday night. And so I'm going to need the car, but nobody's coming to watch. It's just going to be the team, really low key. So I just need the car. And I said, okay, fine, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Friday night came. I got in the car. Tia, heading to practice. I drove down the driveway, down the road, made a left-hand turn. I headed into the big city, right to my girlfriend's house. And I met her there, and we had a spiritually invigorating time, and it was awesome. But I was keeping my eye on the clock because, scrimmages only last so long. And I needed to make sure that I was home in time. And so the time came, and it's like, okay, I got to go. So, she walked me to the door, and we shook hands, and then I went back out to my car, and I got in the car, and I'm driving down the road, and I'm thinking, I have so pulled this off. But then I felt this little tinge of, dude, you deceived and lied to your parents, and you shouldn't do that. You deceived and lied to your coach, and you shouldn't do that. And you were with your girlfriend, and no parents knew, and you probably shouldn't do that. I'm like, but it was just fun. It'll be okay. So I'm driving down the road, right? And I'm coming up to this large intersection, and the light is red, so I'm slowing down to stop, and then it turns green. And I remember when it turned green, I went, yes! It's like the forces of the universe are all orchestrated to make sure they get me home in time. The lights are turning green. It's cool. So the light turned green, and I hit my foot feet a little bit, and I pulled out in the intersection, and I went to make my left-hand turn, and I pulled right in front of an oncoming car. Bash! He's going about 30. I was only going about 10 when I was pulling over, but I mean, it rendered my car undrivable. The police come. The guy driving the car was like, oh boy, if I feel any ache or pain in the next year, I'm going to sue you. And I'm going, oh, what have I done? And then I have to find a phone because there was no such thing as cellular telephones back then. And I had to make a call to my dad. I said, Dad, I need you to come and get me. I've been in a wreck. Oh, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Where are you? I gave him the location. Why are you there? He comes and gets me. I tell him the story. He asks for my driver's license. Back then they were made of paper. He ripped it into about a million little pieces and he threw it up in the air and said, that's a picture of your driving future. I'm so dumb. How could I have done that? Well, how come I am so morally weak that I can know the right thing to do and not do it, and know the wrong thing to do, and yet feel this tug to get it done? I'm just morally weak. And can you relate at all? My problem is I didn't know what the right thing was to do. My problem is I lacked the internal horsepower to actually get it done. And while educating is so important and necessary to supplement material relief, it is insufficient to get the job done. But see, there are some people who look at the problems in places like Uganda and they see something else. They don't simply see material problems. They don't merely see educational problems. They see spiritual problems. Because while they know that fruits don't just hang in the air, they hang on a tree, you got to take care of the tree. They know that there are things you can't see under the ground called roots. And everything starts there. And until you first fix the roots that you can't see, you can't have a healthy tree that works. And then when you have a healthy tree that works, you can finally have good fruit rather than bad stuff. And there are people who see all the problems in our world, like the problems in Uganda, and they go, inherently, ultimately, they are spiritual in nature. And unless we address the spiritual problem, nothing gets fixed for real and for long. And do you know what the spiritual problem is? It's the same everywhere. The spiritual problem is alienation from God. That's it. It's distance that has grown between people and their Maker. It's a wandering away from the God who made us and loves us and have a plan and a will for our lives. And that separation, that alienation, it makes our hearts hard. And it makes our hearts corrupt. So that we have this bent to do what we know is wrong and to live self-centeredly. And we have this inability to do what we know is right. And we all feel that. When God was first putting the Bible together, it took him a couple of thousand years to get it written. But when he started, he said, I'm gonna begin with like where you all came from and what you were supposed to be and why you're in the mess you're in. That's where God started. And you might remember, he said, okay, initially, it's paradise. It's cool. You got along with me, you got along with each other, you got along with the physical universe. All was awesome. But then Adam and Eve, remember they made this choice to violate what God had said and eat this one fruit from this one tree. God said millions of trees, eat all you want, eat all you want, all the options in the world. Just not this one. They said, I think we want this one. And when they did, alienation happened between them and God, between them and each other, and between them and the physical world. And everything began breaking down. As they became alienated from God, here's what we find happening. We find, first of all, there was relational tension and friction between Adam and Eve. That never existed before. And then we found that there was a refusal to accept personal responsibility. They blamed each other for the problems they were having. And then there was this thing called fear that began to grow in their hearts. Rooted in insecurity and guilt and a sense of aloneness. And then we find that as this alienation from God continued into the next generation, things got even worse. And then we find the whole Cain and Abel deal happening. Now it wasn't just relational friction, it was out of control anger that led to murder. The taking of another human life. And then rather than simply fear, there was paranoia that set in. Full-blown psychological dysfunction. When Cain said, no matter where I go, people are always out to kill me. And then you look a couple generations later, recorded in Genesis chapter 4, you find all of those traits grew and amplified. And it describes a world that is fractured and splintered and hard and hostile and self-interested and arrogant and hurting each other. And it all stems from alienation from God, because it does something to our hearts that makes it impossible for us to consistently do what we know is right and avoid what we know is wrong.